Hi there, Smart Driver. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you tonight about 8 reasons, there's the number 8 reasons that you will fail a driver's test. So we're going to give you all the information that you need to be successful on your driver's test first time. That's what we're talking about tonight. Stick around for that information because that's coming up. Evan is here. Samantha is here. Hello. Sandra is here. Sorry to hear you were in the hospital. It's good that you're okay now. Sandra's tuning in from Glasgow, Kentucky. Mallory is here from the east coast of Canada in Nova Scotia, what we call the Maritime Provinces. Han is tuning in from California. So if you're just tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from, what stage of your license you're in, and, if you have any challenges that you're working on in terms of your driving. Sean is here. Joe is here from Toronto, and Sean is in Minnesota. Joe says it's cold in Toronto, and believe me, Joe, it's cold here too in the interior of British Columbia. Swift Boy is here. Hello, everyone. So tonight we're going to get passing a driver's test, making you a safer, smarter driver, giving you techniques, skills, and abilities to be able to do that and keep yourself safe. Anybody who's working on their CDL license to become a truck or bus driver, we can help you with that. Corey is here, Bricks for Wheels. Corey is the moderator, does an excellent job at keeping out the bad people and getting videos up that I suggest you have a look at for more information on questions that you ask and those types of things. Mateo, Surrey, BC, got my end test tomorrow. Good luck on that. You're going to do awesome. You've done the preparation. Now you're going to pass your end test and be successful. Just bear with me one sec here and just... There we go. Okay. Excellent. Mallory says they're expecting rain and wind there in Nova Scotia. Swift Boy is tuning in from Ontario, Canada. Awesome. And Sing, you're tuning in from Mission, BC. A couple of people from Mission, BC. Awesome. So we got a few people here. Another thing that I want to talk to you about tonight, as you know, I have been doing shorts. I started TikTok, and it's been successful. We just passed 5,000 subscribers on the platform, and as well, we have over 1 million views on our videos. So it's been really, really successful, this enterprise of doing the shorts. I also put them up on YouTube in the morning and Facebook as well, so you can find those shorts and have a look at them. Everything to pass your driver's test, be a safer, smarter driver. So those are there. One of the things that has come to light with the TikTok videos, I'm getting a lot more feedback and comments and engagement on the TikTok videos. I don't know what it was about YouTube, but there seemed to be a time when comments just somewhat stopped on YouTube. And maybe it's something I'm doing. I'm not asking for comments, or people just feel that the channel is so big that we're not going to get back to you. But we definitely try and answer as many comments as we can. We try to get to everybody. So one of the things that I would like to stress in terms of driving is consistency, being consistent in everything you do, developing habits when you're driving that are going to keep you safe, that you don't even have to think about it. For example, the one pet peeve of mine in terms of teaching people to be safer, smarter drivers, because I put up a number of videos and people are like, oh, you don't have to shoulder check in that situation. Every time you change directions of the vehicle, any time that you move the vehicle sideways, you need to shoulder check. You must shoulder check. If you just develop that habit that every time that you move the vehicle sideways or you change directions of the vehicle, that you shoulder check in the direction that you're going, and then you don't have to think about it after a while. You just do it out of habit, and it takes 3 months to develop the habits that are going to keep you safer when you're driving. And when you're selective, you say, oh, for example, I don't have to shoulder check in this situation. That's when you're going to get into trouble. I can almost guarantee it, because something unpredictable is going to happen in that situation when you don't check. And it's things on the roadway that are unpredictable that are going to cause you to crash. And you don't have to shoulder check to be checking for another car. It could be other road users that are there. Cyclists, kids on scooters and skaters, motorcycle riders, other vulnerable road users. That's what you're looking for. All right? Fruity Tooty tuning in from Winnipeg, and it's really discouraging. Yes, it can be discouraging. Have you been taking some driver training with a driving instructor? Seeing your videos helped me a lot to pass my driver's test, and your instructions sharpen my driving skills. Thank you a lot, and you are most welcome, my friend. I learned shoulder check and the cork away from your video lessons. Awesome, and I am happy to hear that you're shoulder checking, because it really bothers me when people come back and say, oh, you don't have to shoulder check in this situation or that situation. And it should give you pause as smart drivers here on the channel, learning how to drive, learning how to pass your driver's test and be safer, smarter drivers, because these are the people on the road that are driving in a goofy fashion, are going to do something goofy, and they may do it around you. So you need to implement skills, techniques, and habits that are going to keep you safe. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next month or next year, but in 5 years, that's when it's going to keep you safe. That's when it's going to prevent you from crashing. And that's what we're trying to do here. Okay? Habits and skills and techniques and abilities that are going to keep you safe throughout your driving career. Because driving is so, there's so many things that you don't encounter every day when you're driving. For example, turning right on a red light. Winter driving conditions. Unless you live in the Northern Hemisphere and get winter, you're not going to have winter driving skills. So that's what I'm talking about. Orlayer, I have a road test next tomorrow. I watched your videos. I am confident I will pass. Awesome. Good luck on your driver's test tomorrow. Linnell, I'm glad I learned from you. I passed my test 2 weeks ago. Congratulations on passing your test 2 weeks ago. That is awesome, my friend. Congratulations. Swiftboy, I have my G2 and I just need to book my G. And yes, and know that Ontario, the province of Ontario, the MTO, the Ministry of Transportation there in Ontario, is trying to catch up. So they have waived the slow speed maneuvers for the full G test for the interim. So know that when you're taking your test in the province of Ontario. So we'll get over to the slideshow presentation. It's about 10 or 12 minutes. We'll come back after that, and then the remainder of the hour we will spend answering any of your questions about passing a driver's test, driving situations that you may have encountered and are not sure how to handle, how to be a safer, smarter driver, and start a career as a truck or bus driver. So let's get over to the presentation. 8 reasons you'll fail your driver's test. First impressions. I cannot say enough about first impressions. You do not get an opportunity to make a second impression. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. That's what I was trying to say. Take a shower, brush your hair, show up clean, get your vehicle cleaned out, get it washed, do a pre-trip inspection on your vehicle. Especially in these days of post-COVID, you need to show up with a clean car. If your car is dirty and you have fast food wrappers up to the ankles in the footwells, the examiner is not going to get in your vehicle. So know that for the purposes of going down for your driver's test. Okay, pass your driver's test first time. Course package is available for $19.97. It's a flash sale overnight till tomorrow. Head over to the Smart Drive Test website and Corey will put up the link for that. As well, we offer as a bonus, the defensive and winter driving smart courses. And for those of you who don't have winter, all of the skills and abilities and techniques in the winter driving course will help you out to drive in any kind of inclement weather, heavy rain, hail, and those types of things. For those of you new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver through most of the 1990s, driving truck between Ontario, Canada, and the United States. Mostly I drove east of the Mississippi. I did make it out to the western states, California, Nevada, New Mexico, here and there again. But as I said, mostly east of the Mississippi. Became a commercial driving instructor in 1997. I also worked as a driver rehabilitation specialist, working with people with brain injuries, had lost a limb, taught them how to drive with hand controls and whatnot. So I did that work. 2006, I graduated from the University of Melbourne with a doctorate in history. While I was going to university, I drove buses for Greyhound and one of the regional bus lines there as well. And in 2016, I started the YouTube channel and the online business, and it has been wildly more successful than I could have imagined. As I said, we're now heading out to TikTok. We're approaching 250,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel, and I talked to somebody last week about doing a podcast, so we're working on that as well. Lots and lots going on here. New video last week. This was the video that actually Tim wanted at Drive Smart BC, was properly moving through an intersection, the proper way to scan and to look and observe intersections to keep yourself safe as you're moving through intersections. And the reason that I put this video up is because 40% of crashes happen at intersections, and at intersections, it's the place where you are most likely to encounter vulnerable road users and have vulnerable road users cross your path of travel. Vulnerable road users are pedestrians, cyclists, motorcycle riders, kids on skaters, kids on scooters, and those types of things. So be very careful at intersections. Reason number 8 for passing a driving test: you are not fluent with the primary controls of the vehicle, the steering wheel, the brake, and the throttle. And if you're driving a manual transmission, the clutch as well. And the reason for this is simply because you haven't had enough practice and you don't know how to properly manipulate the steering wheel, have two hands on the steering wheel for the duration of your test. Your turns are too wide, you wander in your lane, or you're not centered. So there's a lot of stuff going on there that simply says to the examiner that you have not had very much practice, and you need to go back and you need to have much more practice to be successful on passing your driver's test. Reason number 7 for not passing your driver's test is moving right after you make a left-hand turn. And yes, you have to do that. Every state has a sign that says, slower traffic, keep right. And that means you, on a driver's test, you are going to be doing the posted speed limit or the flow of traffic, whichever is less. Therefore, you are going to be the slowest vehicle on the road, and you must drive in the right lane. If you're driving in the left lane for more than a few blocks, you're going to be assigned major demerits, and you may not be successful on passing your driver's test. When you're turning left lane to left lane, right lane to right lane, merging, changing lanes, 2 shoulder checks, mirror checks, all of the skills and abilities and observation tools that you need to have to be successful. You need to communicate effectively with other vehicles, and as I talk about in the video from last week, the position of the vehicle or the position of the road user on the roadway is the number one way that we communicate with other road users. Emergency vehicles, you must come to a complete stop immediately for emergency vehicles on your driver's test. And there's a video, 10 unexpected things that may happen on your driver's test. Have a look at that. I talk about emergency vehicles there in that video. Number 6, you are being too cautious. You are driving below the posted speed limit. You're not going when the gap presents itself on turns. You're not getting the vehicle up to speed. You cannot go slower than the posted speed limit for the purposes of your test. If you do, you are being too namby-pamby and will not be successful on your driver's test. So know that for the purposes of going for your driver's test, you have to be sharp, you have to be getting the vehicle going, and you have to take the opportunity when the opportunity presents itself to turn and move into the gap on the roadway. Number 5, the reason that you will fail your driver's test is you do not observe properly, and shoulder checking is that one thing. Shoulder checking, shoulder checking, shoulder checking. Looking far down the road, monitor your gauges, looking in your rear view mirrors and checking your wing mirrors, the forward scanning pattern. And here's the saying that I say to people who say that they don't have to shoulder check. Not shoulder checking is to driving, is what not checking to see if a weapon is loaded is to gun safety. You would never pick up a handgun or a rifle and not check to see whether it was loaded. Why on any earth would you drive a 2-ton vehicle at speed, change direction, move laterally, and not check to see whether there was another road user in your path of travel? Number 4, you're not paying attention to road signs, and those road signs are consistent, and you should be practicing your driving test and practicing for your driver's test in and around the test center. And failing to adjust speed according to signs, you're not merging effectively, Stop signs, you don't know the difference between two-way and four-way stop signed intersections, and there's a lot of difference between two-way stop sign and four-way stop signed intersections. And school zones, if you speed in a school zone for the purposes of your driver's test, it is an automatic fail. Road markings, you need to pay attention to road markings, especially now that they're starting to get road markings repainted on the roadways. They were pretty sketchy there at the end of the winter when the snow melted off. So railway crossings, you need to know those as well, because keep in mind, railroads, whoever, I know I'm going to say railway, some people are going to take umbrage with that, but railways, railroads, one and the same. Railroads are intersections, and you need to scan effectively as you're crossing a railway. If you're driving a manual transmission, know that you cannot change gears going across a railway track. Reason number 3 for failing your driver's test: you strike a fixed object during the Ohio maneuverability test in the state of Ohio, or you strike a cone during parallel parking with cones. There are many DMVs that do parallel parking with cones, so know that. Reversing along a curb, if you back the tire up over the curb, you will fail your driver's test. Parking, oftentimes you have to, well, not often, always, every driving test, you have to back into the parking space at the DMV. And I do encourage you, unless signs prohibit it, do back into the parking space when you show up for your test. If you strike the concrete barrier at the back of the parking space or the fence or whatever is there, that is an automatic fail on your driver's test. And 3-point turns, you want to stop just before the curb. If you hit the curb on the 3-point turn or K turn or Y turn or whatever they're calling it in the state that you're in, that too is an automatic fail on a driver's test. Now, no, hill parking, a smart driver said to me a couple weeks ago, how is that different from hill parking? Hill parking is different because you're expected to rest the tire against the curb to hold the vehicle in the event that the parking brake fails and the vehicle goes to roll away. It's not going to roll away because the tire is nudged up against the curb. Reason number 2 for failing your driver's test is dangerous action. You block an intersection, you move into an intersection you can't clear, and the traffic light turns red. If the examiner intervenes, and see the video I put up, I think it was 3 weeks ago with Chloe. She went to make a left-hand turn and there was a vehicle coming straight through the intersection. If that happens, then I said to her, you can't go. If the examiner does that, that is an automatic fail on a driver's test. Backing up at an intersection, if you stop too far into the intersection and then back up, that is an automatic fail on a driver's test. And I will say to you, never ever back up at an intersection. I see people do it all the time. They get stopped too late and they're across the pedestrian crosswalk. Don't back up. Just stay there. I know it's embarrassing. Pedestrians will walk around you, but backing up is far more dangerous in an intersection. Come on. I'll just go back to what I said earlier. About 40% of crashes happen at intersections. So, insufficient gap when turning, your action causes another road user to take evasive action. And the number one reason that you will fail a driver's test is because you simply don't know what is on the driver's test. You don't know that you have to parallel park with cones, and you show up at the DMV and you have to parallel park with cones. Well, you've never done it. You've only ever practiced parking off cars. If you're in the state of Ohio, you don't know you have to do the Ohio maneuverability test, and you fail because you get in there and you're like, what the heck is going on? Because trust me, the Ohio maneuverability test is something that you have to practice. You can't just show up and do it. As well, you don't know where the schools are. You speed in a school zone. And any of this, if you're not taking driving lessons with a local driving instructor, hire a local driving instructor to take one practice test, okay? They will take you out. They will take you on the route where you're going to be doing your driving test, and they will show you the nuances, where they do the 3-point turns, where they do parallel parking, and those types of things. So it's the return on investment is absolutely huge. So again, pass your driver's test first time course package, available for $19.97 over at the Smart Drive Test website. We include as a bonus both the defensive and winter driving smart courses. So have a look at that. It's on sale until tomorrow. Good luck on your driver's test. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. And we'll get back over here. So, Mohammed Buick, man. I'm in Canada, but everything here on the channel is directed towards the United States. Which state are you in, my friend? My friend Goose is here from Sudbury. Hello, my friend. Hello, hello. Up north. You're not really up north, Goose. Sudbury really isn't up north. There are places a lot farther north than where you are, my friend. Martin, I failed my driving test because I didn't slow down to 40 kilometers an hour. I think when there's a yellow flashing truck parked on the side of the road, now I know what to do when I see them. That would be a very rare occurrence, Martin, that you failed because you didn't slow down to 40 kilometers an hour. That is the move over law that you're talking about, that you needed to slow down to pass. Or if you're on a multi-lane road, then you need to move over to the next lane before going past the utility vehicle and those types of things. So the move over law is to do with police, service vehicles, tow trucks. It seems like it was in this case, city workers, those types of things. So all of this is what they are talking about. Curvin, I don't do in-vehicle lessons, but I do have an online course that you can use. So you can do that online. You can pick that up over at the Smart Drive Test website. You can go over there and check out the course, okay? Goose, pick up your speed after you turn right on a red light. Can't stress that enough. We talked about that, Goose. Going too slow on your driver's test. If you turn out onto a roadway, get up to the speed limit as quickly as possible. Do not dawdle. Do not be namby-pamby. Don't have the driving instructor, me or Goose or Sam, our friend Sam, saying to you, okay, my grandmother is passing us with her walker because you are going too slow. You need to get the vehicle up to speed as quickly as possible. Okay, know that for the purposes of your driver's test. And Corey's put up all of those videos. Thank you for putting those up. And again, I want to come back to the consistency of driving, developing habits. It's the same thing. I did a poll 2 weeks ago on asking smart drivers whether they applied the parking brake when they parked their vehicle. 60% of people did, which I was a little suspect. That seemed a little high for the number of people who are actually applying their parking brake when they're parking their vehicle. And Sam, my friend Sam, who's a driving instructor, said, I only apply the parking brake when I'm parking on a hill. This is what I'm talking about. And I'm calling out my friend Sam, saying that you need to do these things consistently. Need to put on the parking brake every time you park the vehicle. It just becomes a habit. It's something that you do every time you park the vehicle. That way, when you come back, you can be guaranteed that the vehicle is still there after, because the parking brake is on. Because if the transmission lets go for whatever reason, and, even if you're not on a hill, if somebody hits your vehicle, for example, then it's not going to roll away. Because there's a clip here that I've made a GIF out of where that's what happens. Is the vehicle's parked on the hill, another vehicle comes along, strikes the parked car, and then it simply just rolls away down the hill. So that's why you need to put on the parking brake every time you park the vehicle. And as well, for automatic transmissions, when you put the vehicle into park, it is really hard on that pawl, that little clicker thing in the transmission, when all of the weight of the vehicle is on it. That is not what the park in the automatic transmission is designed to do. It's simply to lock out the transmission. It's not to hold the car. And a lot of people think that because they called it park, that they don't have to apply the parking brake. And that's simply not true. You need to apply the parking brake every time you park the vehicle, and you need to develop that habit. It's the same thing with shoulder checking. You need to develop that habit. You need to be consistent in the habits, skills, and abilities that you develop and use every day when you're driving. Mallory, make sure you use your turn signals every time you turn the corner. And yes, and that is excellent what Mallory just said and just reminded me. That goes with the same thing as what I'm talking about in terms of parking brakes. That's what I'm talking about in terms of shoulder checking. Every time that you change directions of the vehicles, activate your turn signal. You're communicating with other traffic about what you're doing, whether you're driving forward or whether you're driving back. And I put up a video about signaling in parking lots, because this is where new drivers get, demerits, because they don't signal in a parking lot. And a number of people said, oh, it's private property. You don't have to signal in a parking lot. Okay, it's private property, and according to the law, you don't have to signal in a parking lot. But again, that's not going to keep you safe when you're driving. So when you're in a parking lot, use your turn signals to communicate with other people and with vulnerable road users who are in the parking lot walking around going to the store from their cars, and little kids and those types of things. They know what you are doing. Develop the habit that every time you change directions, you're shoulder checking, and every time that you're changing directions of the vehicle, you are signaling. I cannot stress these skills enough to be consistent and develop the habits, because as I said, not today, not tomorrow, not next month, but maybe in 5 years, this habit or skill that you have developed is going to prevent you being involved in a crash. I mean, you're in a parking lot at the grocery store and you turn the corner, you don't shoulder check, you don't signal, and you run over a kid that got away from his parents. How are you going to feel about that? You're going to feel pretty terrible. I know that. So, and Tim says here in the province of British Columbia, a parking lot is considered a highway. Thank you for that, Tim. I appreciate that. And Tim, I meant to send you an email, but it's just I got sick this week and crazy going on. I got your video up for you. You may have seen it on proceeding through an intersection, so I got that up for you. Curvin, my problem is that my left hand is a little bit tight, especially when turning. Do you have any suggestions for me? Yes, go and do some slow speed maneuvers, work in the parking lot with cones, those 3 meter, 1 foot tall, or 1 meter, 3 feet tall delineators, and those will really help you out. Corey will put up one of the videos for you. Joe, this late winter snowstorm in southern Ontario is turning out nasty. OPP tweeted about a serious crash on Highway 401 near London a few hours ago. Yeah, so Joe, you're getting snow again, and everybody's going, hey, it's spring, we can put on our summer tires, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, you get snow again, which we do, right? So that's unfortunate. Slow down. Drive according to the conditions of the road, which means winter driving, people, okay? Mallory, that happened in a town at a local restaurant where a truck was left in gear and rolled backwards into the harbor. Fortunately, it just rolled back into the harbor and nobody got hurt, so that's good news. Chris, one thing you should clarify is you are from Canada. You had me all messed up because I'm in the U.S. Chris, that has nothing to do with you being in the U.S. It's the same, and most of the information that I'm talking about here is directed towards the U.S. states. It's not any different here in Canada than it is in the United States. Charles, nervous adult taking my driving test tomorrow morning in California, taking test in driving school car, which is a Mustang, and have an hour driving practice before the test. Any advice? So, Charles, you have a driving school that's using a Mustang as a driving school car. Okay, that's a bit crazy, but it is what it is. Yeah, if you've been here on the channel, you're going to do the things that you need to do. You're going to be successful on passing your driver's test. So 4 components of any driving test. First one is space management. You need to stop in traffic so you can see the tires of the vehicle in front making clear contact, which is approximately 1 vehicle length between you and the vehicle in front. Stopping at the correct stopping position at controlled intersections. Stopping behind the stop line, stop before the crosswalk or crosswalk lines. If those 2 conditions don't exist, then you need to stop at the edge of the road where the 2 roads meet, which is just before entering the intersection, is what you need to do for the purposes of your driver's test. Don't enter an intersection you can't clear. If the traffic is backed up, stay on this side of the intersection until it clears, because if you're in the intersection and the light turns red, you're not going to be successful on your driver's test. You need to have a 2 to 3 second following distance at all times when you're driving. Get the vehicle up to speed as quickly as possible. You're going to use speed control to manage space around your vehicle because, as I say, if you're not near anything, it's less likely that you're going to hit something. So speed. Get the vehicle up to speed as quickly as possible. It's going to be either the posted speed limit or the flow of traffic, whichever is less. And then communication, you need to communicate effectively with other traffic. The position of your vehicle on the roadway is the number one way that you communicate. It's the same way as other road users are going to communicate. See the video that I put up last week where I talked about a pedestrian that I knew was going to cross the road just by the fact of where they were in relationship to the road and their movement and trajectory. I knew they were going to cross the road. Communication. So lights and signals, and then after that it's going to be, if you're not sure what the other person is doing or road user, eye contact, hand signals, hand gestures, and I'm missing one. It'll come to me. Okay, and then observation. You need the forward scanning pattern for the purposes of your driver's test. You need to forward check far down the road, in check your center mirror, in check your instrument panel, far down the road, check your left mirror, far down the road, and then check your right wing mirror for the purposes of your forward scanning pattern. And again, your forward scanning pattern is what helps you to manage speed when you're driving. It's not a matter if you're going over or under the speed limit a little bit, but you should be adjusting your speed every 10 to 15 seconds in keeping with your scanning pattern. Reversing, you need to do a 360-degree scan. Look out through the back window when you're reversing. You can check your mirrors, you can check a backup camera, but you can't use them as your primary line of sight. So that's what you want to do when you're scanning and your observation techniques. So the 4 components of your driver's test are space management, speed management, observation, and communication. And if you can do those 4 things, you're going to be great. So communication, I missed one on the communication. So position of your vehicle on the roadway, lights and signals, horn. Horn is the one I missed. Use your horn sparingly because in this day and age, it's seen as a sign of aggression. But if you're not sure what somebody else is doing, they're sitting at a green light for whatever reason, just get a little tap on your horn and they'll get going in those types of things. Okay. Ari, nice tips. Taking notes, kind of nervous. You're going to do well, my friend. You're in the right place. We'll definitely look after you. Luke, when I finish park, do I need to use the handbrake to show the examiner I'm done, or just put the vehicle on brake will do it? No, Luke, every time you park the vehicle, apply the parking brake. Get in the habit of doing that. That way you'll be absolutely positive when you come back, your vehicle is going to be in the same place that you left it. So apply the parking brake every time you park the vehicle. Tim, have a great dinner, my friend. All the best. All the very best. Kervin, is it an automatic fail if you made a mistake on your turning? No, and that is a great point. Kervin, if you make a mistake on your driver's test, keep going. Only stop when the driving examiner tells you to stop, okay? Because the mistake that you made, you may not even realize that you made that mistake, okay? Or, sorry, the mistake that you made, the examiner may not have seen it. So you just need to keep going until he or she tells you to stop. When they tell you to stop, then you stop. But until then, you keep going for the purposes of your driver's test, okay? Tim, some rules can be a bit different, but generally the driving rules are the same across North America. Yes, thank you, Tim. Buify, Rick, that's okay to take my car instead of the driving school car. Buify, it is, but make sure you do a pre-trip inspection on your car before you go down. You don't want to be denied your test because you got a brake light out or something like that. And as well, make sure that your license and insurance is up to date before you show up. Okay? But if you've been practicing and you've been learning to drive in the driving school car, then definitely take the driving school car. But if you're comfortable in your own car and you've been practicing in your own car, then you can take your own vehicle. It doesn't matter whose you take. You don't have to take the driving school's car. Okay? Martin, I know that in school zones the speed limit is 30 kilometers an hour. Do we still drive 30 kilometers an hour even on weekends? Martin, no. School speed zones only apply when school is in session. They don't apply in the summertime. They don't apply on Easter holiday weekends. They don't apply during PD days and those types of things. So know that for the purposes of your driver's test, that school speed zones only apply when school is in session. Many of the states, when they have school is in session, they will have lights that are flashing, so that will help you out as well to know that school speed zones are active and the speed limit applies for your driver's test. Mateo, when reverse parking on your road test, how many times are you allowed to readjust? Does it matter, or do you just need to do a 360-degree check every time you readjust? On any slow speed maneuver, that's a great point. On any slow speed maneuver, for the purposes of your driver's test, you're allowed 1 pull-up. So for reverse parking into a parking lot, for parallel parking or whatnot, you're allowed 1 pull-up, and then the examiner starts to assign demerit points after that 1 pull-up. Now, saying that, if You went out for your drive. Everything was great. The driving examiner determines that you're a stellar driver and they think that you're awesome. And they decided within the first 2 minutes that you were going to pass your driver's test. And say whatever happened, something went wrong and you had to pull up 3 times to get into the parking space just because you kind of lost your nerve because the driving examiner wasn't saying anything. And you're like, oh my God, they're not saying anything. I must have failed my driver's test. They have a lot of discretion. And if you were doing exceptionally well at the beginning of the test and then you pulled up 3 times, he or she is probably going to pass you on your driver's test because they're going to go, oh, okay, well, that was just nerves. So they have some discretion. And again, the first 5 minutes of your driver's test, make sure that you get that solid, okay? Don't talk to the examiner. Just focus on what you're doing. Get settled in. And do your driving and do it to the best of your ability. Because if you can get past the first 5 minutes, you know the rest is fairly straightforward and fairly easy. Okay. Peter, I'm 50. I signed up for driving lessons. Never drove a car in my life. I'm really scared. Any tips? I don't have a car to practice with. Peter, you're doing awesome. Just the fact that you signed up for driving lessons. One of the things that I would say to you, Peter, if you're going with a driving instructor and it's your first lesson, I would say to you, encourage, if the driving instructor just takes you out into traffic, just say to him or her, say, no, I don't want to go out in traffic. Go and work in a parking lot and get used to the vehicle. If you've never driven and you don't have a vehicle of your own to drive with, then do that. Work in a parking lot first before you head out into traffic, because it's going to be a lot easier for you and it's going to be able to settle your nerves and those types of things. So know that for the purposes of getting going and starting how to drive. Jessica, hey, just wanted to say thank you. One of your videos where you described and demonstrated how to parallel park made so much sense to me, and I passed with flying colors a few years ago now. Jessica, that's awesome. Congratulations on that. That's really great. And how has the driving been going in those few years? Thanks for dropping by, letting us know that we were able to help out. Awesome. Kervin, I saw in your videos that you're from Burnaby. I'm from Surrey. Do you offer driving lessons? Kervin, no, I don't do in-vehicle lessons. Everything I do is online. There's just so much going on here that I don't have the time to do in-vehicle lessons. So, no, that's not something I do. Okay, Martin. Okay, we answered that question. Joe was saying someone here in Toronto once told me he didn't obey any rules in mall parking lots because the cops don't have jurisdiction. I said, even if it's unsafe, didn't get an answer. Yeah, well, unfortunately, and this comes back to the other point, not just parking lots, but also new drivers learning how to merge onto a highway, freeway, and interstate. And this is a frequent topic here on the Smart Drive Test channel. New drivers, a high percentage of new drivers have a great deal of anxiety and a great deal of trepidation about merging onto a highway or freeway. And it's understandable because you have to get out on the on-ramp, you have to get out on the acceleration lane, and you got to put your foot right into it. You got to get going and you got to make a decision. Unfortunately, they're not taught correctly how to do this. When you get on the on-ramp, which is a different part than the acceleration lane, and you know you're on the acceleration lane because on your left side there are going to be lines that are twice as wide and half as long, which are lines that are telling you that this is the acceleration lane. So you have to pick a spot. And unfortunately, too many new drivers don't pick a spot before they get on the acceleration lane. They get up to speed and they're right beside another vehicle. And then they're nearing the end of the acceleration ramp and they panic. And they come to a complete stop out on the acceleration lane, where that is probably one of the most dangerous things that you can do, is come to a stop on acceleration lane. And then they come back and they say to me, should I have pulled in behind the truck or got in front of the other truck? Well, the thing is that you have to get in behind the other vehicle, okay? Just let off the throttle a little bit, pull in behind the other vehicle, and carry on with your life. Now, what upsets me about this is other drivers that come back and say that people on the highway have no obligation to move over and they don't have to. Well, you can be right or you can be dead right. And in my mind, it just makes you part of the social driving problem. You're just another arrogant driver on the roadway who thinks that other people should just do your bidding. Because you have an obligation as a driver, as somebody who's in charge of a 2,000 pound vehicle, it's probably closer to 3,000 pound vehicle, at speed, going up and down the road, and you have to be aware of where the transitions are on the freeway or interstate. And those transitions are the on-ramps. And if you can move over, you need to move over. If you can slow down 2 or 3 miles an hour to let the other person on, then you need to do that. Because driving is not a solo event. It's a team event. You need to help other drivers out. And again, I come back to the point where you get these people who are convinced and have the conviction that they're right. And they're not going to give up. And they're not going to help you out. And so you need to make allowances. You need to make compensations. You need to have in place strategies, skills, and abilities that are going to keep you safe when other people believe that they're right, and they're bound to determine that they're going to be dead right. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to keep you safe. We're trying to make you a smarter driver. And if you're on the interstate and you see the on-ramp and you see 3 or 4 people coming out and the left lane is clear and you can move over, then move over and help them out and let them move over onto the freeway. And, you know, people can disagree with me on that. But again, I come back to the point. You can be right or you can be dead right. So you just hang on to that conviction. But that's not what driving is about. And that is definitely what smarter defensive driving is not about. It's about making allowances, compensation, and helping other people out. Okay? Buify, can you come to Mission, give me a driving lesson before my road test again? Please, thanks. Buify, I will not be down to the Mission until end of May, June. So unfortunately, it's probably not going to work out. Funny Girl, I failed my driver's test in February. I'm taking lessons right now. Funny Girl, when is your next driving lesson, my friend? Kyle, what determines when I pull into the intersection when making a left turn? If someone ahead is already currently in the intersection waiting, do I wait behind the stop line or creep up behind them? Kyle, wait behind the stop line. If somebody is already in the intersection moving to turn left, then you need to stay behind the stop line and wait till they commit to the turn, and then you can move up. Joe, coming to a dead stop in the acceleration lane. I'm hyperventilating just thinking about it. Joe, I've had 2 people in the last week told me that they stopped on an acceleration lane. It just, I'm like you. It makes me bristle every time they tell me that. Every time. Molly, I watch your videos on repeat. I have a road test on Thursday in Brooklyn. I'm hoping for the best. Thank you for your videos. They do help. Molly, you are most welcome. And I don't know, Molly Dean, whether you have seen the videos with Sam there in the Bronx, in Brooklyn. I failed my driver's test because I kept making right turns on red lights, which you can't do in the 5 boroughs of New York City, as you know. So know that. And as well, I could not get used to the point. Well, no, I didn't get used to the point. It took me 45 minutes to get used to the 25 mile an hour speed limit. So because I'm just so used to driving 30 miles an hour, it took me a little bit to get used to the 25. Funny Girl, my next lesson is Wednesday. I had 2 already. When is your driver's test though? Buify, my road test is in August. Please, Buify, maybe we can make it happen. Because as I said, I'm down in May. And I don't charge money, but what I do is shoot a video. So maybe we could shoot a video doing a driver's test there. Let me know whether that might work for you or not. Sandra, how many tests can we take to pass the driver's test? Sandra, I don't think there's a limit on the number of tests that you can take to pass your driver's test. However, they're beginning to implement a waiting period between tests. So you'll need to check with your local DMV about what the waiting period is between tests if you fail your tests. I know that for sure. Funny Girl. Okay, so you haven't booked your test yet. I would encourage you to go and book your driver's test, and that way you have a goal to work towards so that you know when your next driver's test is. Get that done. Tim says dinner was quick. Chili on potatoes with cheddar cheese. Geez, you must have eaten fast. That sounds really good. I would love to have one of those with my after live stream celebration drink. Little Queen is tuning in from Ottawa. Hello, my friend. Love Ottawa. Worked there for a while, and Ottawa was actually where I did my driving instructor's license with Chris Doherty at driving motoring school, DMTS I think it was called. That's where I got my driving instructor's license. Robert, hi there. I need a car for the road test. I'm in Utica, New York. Robert, is there anybody there, driving schools or those types of things you could get in touch with? I might be able to help you out with that. Darnell, any tips on when making a left and right? Do I have to start turning the steering wheel when leaving from a stop sign or in a traffic light or before I pull off to make a turn? Okay, so Daryl, basically what you want to turn the steering wheel when you're in line with the cross street. So you in the driver's seat and you get to the cross street, that's when you start turning the steering wheel when you're making your turns left and right. Beautify, awesome. I'll be waiting for you. Thanks. Epic, do watch your short videos, and I'm wondering if you did one on Painted Islands on a left turn, since when I was practicing for the road test, I tend to go over them. Others do that move too. Yes, they do, Epic, but for the purposes of your driver's test, don't drive over the Painted Islands. Wait for the lane to clear, and then you can get into that left-hand lane for the purposes of your driver's test, okay? I don't know whether it was specifically for left turns, but I did do a short on Painted Island saying that you can't drive over them for the purposes of your driver's test. But again, drivers driving over Painted Islands is all part of social driving, right? It's what drivers do. They don't come to a complete stop at stop sign intersections. They fail to signal on many occasions. They don't signal in parking lots because they think they don't have to. They don't shoulder check. And they drive over Painted Islands. These are just some of the hallmarks of social driving. So know that for the purposes of your test. Mallory, just wondering if you have ever been to the Maritimes. Mallory, I have been to the Maritimes, and I've been quite a number of times actually. And in 1998, which is a very long time ago now, I did a bicycle tour through Cape Breton Island and Newfoundland, and I cycled the Cabot Trail. So I have been there, and it's absolutely beautiful. So if anybody gets an opportunity to go to the Maritimes in Canada, then please do take that opportunity, especially if you're in the northeastern states of Maine or I'm having a brain cramp, Vermont, and those states. Definitely get up to Canada and have a look around. It's definitely worth your time. More blessed question. I have my driving test coming up on Monday, the 25th of April, but my license got expired today on the 18th. Will I be allowed to take my test? Blessed, you'll definitely have to check with your local DMV. Some DMVs are extending your license due to the fact of COVID and trying to catch up with the backlogs of COVID and those types of things, but definitely check with your DMV to see whether they're going to extend your license for the purposes of your driver's test, okay? Curvin, if I turn into the wrong lane, does it mean an automatic fail, or does it mean I will no longer pass the driver's test? Curvin, if you turn into the wrong lane on a driving test, you're probably not going to be successful on your driver's test because it says to the driving examiner that you just don't have enough experience. So you need to practice in and around the test center where you're going to be taking your test, and you need to turn left lane to left lane, right lane to right lane. And as I said in the presentation, if you make a left turn on a multi-lane road, that you need to move back over to the right lane almost immediately unless the examiner tells you that you're going to turn left in the next couple of blocks or whatnot. Okay? Robert, driving schools in Utica don't have any cars to use. That's unfortunate, Robert. Can you borrow one from a neighbor, a friend, family, anybody who might be able to get you a car? Because other than that, I don't know what to say. Maybe some of the smart drivers here or some of the smart drivers on the replay can kind of help out with that and make some suggestions, because other than that, I don't have any suggestions. Gamer, can you use the backup camera or the backup mirrors? Gamer, you can check them, but you can't use them as the primary line of sight. If you're reversing, you got to do a 360-degree scan before you put the vehicle in motion, and then you need to look out through the back window. You can pause, you can look at check your backup camera, you can check your mirrors, but for your primary line of sight, you need to be looking out through the back window. Fruity, how do you navigate around a bicyclist if they are riding on the road and there are parked cars on the right and you can't pass them and there's oncoming cars coming towards you? Okay, so Fruity, that's a really good question. If there are cars coming towards you, you're going to have to stay in behind the cyclist. You're going to have to slow down. You're going to have to wait until the cars go past. And then when the cars go past, mirror signal shoulder check, move out into the other lane, go around the cyclist, and then mirror signal shoulder check back. Okay, that's what you need to do for a cyclist that's blocking your path and there's oncoming vehicles. Wait for the cars to go past and then go around, and make sure you do all your checks and your communication, your signals, and those types of things. Anson, tips on maintaining speed. I often need a second to look at my speedometer and readjust my speed like that. Anson, your speed control, again, is tied into your forward scanning pattern because you're looking far down the road in checking your center mirror, far down the road, both shoulders, in checking your instrument panel. So your speed control is tied into your observation pattern. So your observation pattern is being repeated every 10 to 15 seconds. So every 10 to 15 seconds, you need to be controlling you need to be adjusting, rather, not controlling. You need to be adjusting the speed of your car. So know that for the purposes of your driver's test, that you need to be adjusting your speed every 10 to 15 seconds. As well, Corey will put up the video for you on speed control and how to learn how to do that, because the gas pedal is one of your primary controls in combination with the brake and in combination with the steering wheel. Most of us, 80% of us in North America, drive automatic transmissions. So those are the three primary controls that you're going to need to be able to have manipulation of when you're driving the car, and speed control is one of the major components of your driver's test. Frosty, who has the right of way if I'm turning left in an intersection on a green light, but there is also someone looking to turn right from the opposite side? Again, if you don't want to turn in beside that person who's turning right when you're turning left, you want to adjust your speed so you either turn in front of that vehicle or you turn in behind that vehicle. So that's what you need to do for the purposes of turning left and right on a multi-lane road to keep yourself safe. Mallory, there is a ferry that goes from Maine to Nova Scotia, and that will definitely cut out some of the driving. And of course, I love ferries. I've been on ferries all over the world. And, you know, I took the, not the Anacortes ferry. I don't know why I'm saying Anacortes ferry. The Port aux Basques ferry from Newfoundland back to Nova Scotia there into Sydney, and just absolutely awesome. Robert, fresh, would you have to wait until the intersection is cleared? No, you don't have to wait till the intersection is cleared. You just need to make sure that you're either turning in behind the other car or turning in front of that car. Excellent. So again, lots of questions. Being consistent in your driving, being consistent in developing the skills and habits and techniques that are going to keep you safe when you're driving. And as I said, driving is one of those things that you're not going to be encountering some things every day when you're driving. For example, unless you live in the Northern Hemisphere, you're not going to be winter driving. You're only going to be night driving every few weeks or whatnot, unless you're working a job where you're working the night shift or you're working the midnight shift. You're not going to be driving at night. These are skills that you need to learn, and you're only going to use every now and again. For example, I rarely drive at night anymore because I just don't have a job where I have to drive at night. I mean, I do, and I can do it, and I'm good at it, and those types of things. And of course, summer's coming on. But again, it's another skill set that you need to be able to drive safely and keep yourself safe. So I encourage you, I strongly say that one of the most important abilities is your ability to be consistent in your driving. Every time you change direction of the vehicle, check your mirrors and shoulder check. Every time you change direction of the vehicle, signal, both when you're reversing and when you're going forward, and especially when you're in parking lots, because that's where you're going to encounter vulnerable road users. Next to intersections where 40% of crashes happen, in parking lots rather, is where you're going to encounter vulnerable road users. And I would say if 40% of crashes happen in intersections, I would say that 80 to 90% of bingles, bashes, and crashes happen in parking lots. Primarily because people don't observe properly. The number of people that I see in parking lots who put their vehicle in motion and then look. It's the number one reason for backing crashes. Or the number of people who don't signal in parking lots because, oh, it's private property. I don't have to signal in parking lots. Again, you as a driver have a responsibility to keep yourself safe, not only yourself, but other road users on the roadway. So, again, I come back to the saying, you can be right or you can be dead right. And if you believe that you're on the interstate, the freeway, or the highway, and there are vehicles merging and that you don't have to move over, then, unfortunately, you're probably in the wrong place because I don't have any empathy for you. I think that you're just an arrogant driver who believes that they should be awesome. And, you're probably the person in the car who's shaking their fist and flashing their lights and those types of things. So, take your time, do what you need to do. Joe said practice is super important. My son passed his G2 with flying colors a few months ago and hardly drove at all for 2 months. Last weekend on the 400, he was very rusty. Lack of practice was obvious. Yes, and that definitely happens. Expert gamer, can you brake check people? Gamer, again, that comes back to the idea of why on any planet would you do that? Why would you do that? Risk your own safety and the safety of somebody else? Brake checking somebody is almost as dangerous as taking a loaded weapon and pointing it at your head. It's that dangerous. Because it often happens at speed. You brake check the person behind you. You don't know whether that person's going to get stopped or not. And that person may plow into the back of you and then you careen off into another vehicle. I don't even know. No, please don't ever do that. Anson, you're very welcome. Robert, if you're in the middle of the intersection, you would have to get out of the intersection. Yes, you do. If the light turns yellow or the light turns red, then you have to clear the intersection for sure. Mallory, I also like ferry boats. I've done a couple here in the Maritimes. Absolutely awesome. I also took the ferry. Speaking of ferries, I took the ferry from the Isle of Lewis back to Scotland, and it was fairly calm when I did it, but I met these people when I was on Lewis, and they said that when they drove off the ferry the day before, that there was 18 inches of water in the on the car deck, and they were driving out through water. And later I met a woman who was living in Stirling, and she said that she flew to the Isle of Lewis, where she was from and where her family lived. She said she never took the ferry. She said, because it's the North Atlantic. She says it's one of the roughest ferries that you'll ever be on. And same thing with the Port of Basque ferry. Going to Newfoundland, I talked to a person and they said his dad was on the ferry and they were out for 36 hours because it was so rough they couldn't get into the harbor. So there are great stories about riding ferries. But most of the time, 95% of the time, it's going to be okay on the ferries. I mean, I don't think I've ever been on a rough BC ferries going from Tawasin into Swartz Bay. But I've talked to people who've been on the Nanaimo ferry, and they said it is absolutely crazy rough. A couple of times they've been on the ferry. So, yeah, there are times every now and again. I haven't had that excitement yet. Darnell, can a person still pass their road test if you show the driving instructor that you made you're a defensive driver, make a few mistakes on the test? Darnell, just keep in mind that you're going for a pass. You're not going for perfection, okay? You're just going for a pass. And if you're unsure about the skills and abilities that you need to pass your driver's test, I strongly encourage you to take a driving lesson with an instructor. That will really, really help you out in terms of getting prepared for your driver's test. Claro, can one drive on a painted island if there's a slow construction truck in front of you, or wait for the examiner to instruct? Claire, there's really no exception for driving on a painted island. If there's a vehicle in front of you, then you just need to wait for that vehicle to clear. It's very unlikely there's going to be a construction vehicle, but there are exceptions. but not very often in terms of driving on a painted island. Frosty, what's the difference between a yield sign and a stop sign? The difference is that for the purposes of a driver's test, you don't have to come to a complete stop for a yield sign, but you still need to give way to all of the road users and only proceed when the way is clear. Nipton, do you think the examiner decision is correct all the time? Blue, 9.5 times out of 10, the examiners are right. Okay? And unfortunately, sometimes students that should pass don't pass because something goes wrong in the driving environment when they're out there, and students that shouldn't pass the driver's test because everything went swimmingly on their driver's test. But as I said, most of the time, driving examiners make the right decision and do the right thing in terms of deciding whether somebody's going to get their license or not. Jazz, 21, I live in Cali. I was scared of driving and it's taken me 2 years to learn. Your videos have helped me overcome my fear and I feel safer in Los Angeles rush hour traffic. My test is in June. You're going to do absolutely awesome, my friend. All the very best. Joe, thanks once again for the great info, Rick. Have a fabulous week. You as well, my friend Joe. All the very best. And we'll leave it there for tonight. And everybody that's passed the test in the last couple of weeks, congratulations. And if you have a test coming up in the next week or so, good luck on that. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.